Maze, this revision thing. I mean, how am I supposed to remember that cis theta is equal to e to the I theta? And this modulus argument thing. Well, I just, if only I knew some other ways to revise, then maybe it would all make sense to me. Wait. So guys, it's cake time, and this video is going to be part of a series called How To, where I will be, you guessed it, breaking down how to do things. It's quite self-explanatory. For today, I'll be breaking down this dreaded thing called revision. So I didn't actually know what this word meant until I was like around 13 or 14. I remember I was at my friend's house over the weekend, and his mom came to me asking me if I've started revision for the exams next week. Now, I had no idea what revision was, so trying to finesse the situation, I confidently said, "Auntie, for us revision does not start until after the exams." Young KK. Anyway, I still didn't know about revision, and as I said, I did start after the exams. That's just how it was. After that enlightening experience, I mostly revised by reading my notes a week before the exam, and that worked for the better part of 2 years. That was in like grade 8 and 9. After all, revision by definition stems from the word revise, which is to reread work done previously to improve one's knowledge of a subject, typically to prepare for an examination. But as I got older, I realized that I actually have beef with this definition, especially that part reread, because there are just so many different ways to revise. Here are some of the different ways to revise and different revision techniques. The rewriter. This person learns best by writing things out, and usually in ways that they understand. Can't lie, there's just something about rewriting notes that makes them stick in your head. The way I used to do this was by getting my old book and looking at the notes carefully, seeing if there's anything or any understanding that's changed, and then write down new notes. So every time that I read from an old book, it would be, let's say, revised content. So right now I'm using this book as a reference to rewrite. Next time I'd use this one as a reference to rewrite, and so on and so forth. This did help me refine my understanding every time I rewrote, but it did have its disadvantages. Unfortunately, I've also found that this particular type of method takes a very long time, so if you're planning to use it, make sure you schedule it either 2 or 3 weeks before your exam so that you're not spending the whole night rewriting your notes. I'd specifically advise this for more content-heavy subjects where the tests are more theoretical than practical or application, such as humanities, social science, even biology. The speaker/listener. Knowledge sticks in this person's brain as soon as they hear it. Socially, these are the guys who will never forget what you say to them. To harness this skill, you can take part in group discussions where you will get the opportunity to cover a lot more content than you would on your own. So I'd advise this for content-heavy things and theory-related things where you can discuss things. This can also work in math and physics where you discuss how to go about problems. And this is also really good for things like English. This is a set book. Discussing set books I found was very helpful in retaining the knowledge, especially the quotes, the themes, the ideas of the book. So I'd use it there. But I warn you, when in group discussions, please maintain focus. Some of you will find yourself talking for 2 hours about how Nairobi boys will never be fit for marriage, as if it's coming in your history test. Yes, you. Udaku is for another time. Discussion time for study is discussion time for study. Period. Respect the study time. We can do Udaku later. The reader. Readers simply need to read something on a page for it to stick. While for me personally, I only read if I really needed to cram stuff or if I needed a new perspective of things. Some people just seem to be able to osmosize Not a word. Basically, they were able to just absorb all the knowledge that was in the book just by reading it. And if this is you, go at it. Again, I'd suggest this for theory and theory-related subjects. And I'd also suggest that you read from different sources. For example, for Math HL, in our theory, I had 4 different books that I'd go to, and each was different and had its own purpose. There were some I'd go to for the algebra, some I'd go for calculus, some I'd just go to look at the solutions for complex number questions. So look at different sources and see what you can gain from all of them. And if you are in Math HL and are wondering which books are best for which topics, feel free to hit me up. I can give you some tips. The watcher/visualizer. Visualizers learn best by seeing things happen. Through that, they're able to process it and do it for themselves. Personally, this worked best in things like physics and math. If you showed me the steps of how to go through a problem, it stuck. Visualization was also very good for understanding theory and getting a new perspective of it. In my head, I like to visualize how things work out and join dots to different things. And a lot of YouTube videos, if you look at different ones on different topics, will give you a different idea of how to link those different things. Yes, YouTube was one of my best friends, and I'd usually go to it if I didn't understand the theory as well as I should have. Again, this method is very personal, and it's unlikely that any 2 people will see these things in the same way. But getting help from other people will offer you a fresh perspective and can sometimes help you understand something that you never understood before. In chemistry, when we talk about oxidation and reduction, there's the acronym OILRIG. Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain, and that's in terms of electrons. So I didn't know that until I joined DP1 actually, and when I understood that, it stuck, and it's here today. Even though I got a 6. But anyway, yeah, seek help and get different perspectives. They may just help you. The practicer. This person learns best by applying knowledge, and it's my personal belief that everyone should at least adopt this method, because in the exam, more often than not, they're asking you to apply knowledge rather than to just spit out facts. This is especially true for things like math and physics, where most of the exam is more of application than just spitting out content like I do. Doing things practically also helps you visualize the types of scenarios that you can be put in during the exams. And this really helps, especially those who find that they panic in exams. The more and more questions you do, you'll find that when you enter an exam, the question isn't as confusing as you've seen either a similar one or one that has similar concepts, and therefore less panic. So for those practicers, keep practicing, and if you don't, I'd advise that you take it on. When practicing, I'd say utilize both textbooks and past papers. Textbooks are really good for conceptual understanding, and with those you're going to learn a lot more than past papers, because past papers are not necessarily generic, but I found that textbooks really work your brain more than the past papers. That's just my opinion. Now, throughout this video I've been talking about the aspects of theory and practical, and I should note that each subject has its theory and the application of the theory. But these vary in different ratios, especially in the tests. For example, mathematics is going to have only application-based theory in the test and not theory. For example, they're not going to ask you to recite Pythagoras' theorem, only to apply it. That said, subjects like biology are going to ask you to recite and provide definitions, which is mostly theory and not application of theory. Theory revision is where the revision tips and skills that I gave before come into play. But theory application usually comes through practice, although it varies. That said, everybody is different, so I'd advise that you take time to find which revision skills work for you and which best work for you in terms of theory and theory application. That said, everybody is different, and take time to figure out which one works for you. Don't be pressured to use a specific revision technique just because it works very well for your friends. Figure yourself out, because in the end it's about you. Also, it's rare that every subject is going to use one revision technique, or all concepts in a subject are going to use them. So figure out which works best for which, and then you should be good. While it can take some time and it might be frustrating at some points, I promise you at the end of it, it'll be worth it. If you're finding it difficult to revise, take time to find out which revision techniques work for you, and specifically for the different subjects you take. I can't promise that it'll be easy. In fact, it took me almost 2 years to realize which subjects required which revision techniques and which would be best for me personally. But in the end, figuring out will definitely help you accomplish your goals, at least academically. Now, last but not least, here are some tips. Simplify, simplify, simplify. To show that you fully understand, you should be able to take a really complex subject and break it down into small bite-sized chunks. As they say, you only truly understand something if you can teach it to a 6-year-old. They don't say that? I even saw a video on it somewhere, man. Anyway, be honest with yourself. The worst thing you can do is spend 3 hours revising, understand nothing, and pretend it's all okay. It's not. Signs that you don't understand will be the inability to explain the concepts and the inability to apply them. I personally know how frustrating this can be, especially when your friends are understanding the concepts a lot faster than you. But remember, it's not about them. It's about you. Evaluate your revision strategies, find out what works for you, and then get to work. Put in any extra time you need to, and at the end of the day, just ensure that you've done all you possibly can to understand these things that you're learning. And don't forget to seek help when necessary too. Some people can just say one thing, and your entire perspective, your entire understanding will have changed for the better. Last but not least, utilize the Pomodoro Technique. The Pomodoro Technique is a time management technique that I learned in my final year of IGCSEs, and it's basically a technique where you separate your work time, or rather structure your work time and your rest time. The recommended is 25 minutes work, 5-minute breaks, and then do that twice. That's 60 minutes, and then after that take a 10-minute break. Do that twice again, that's 2 hours. So in 2 hours you'll have done about 100 minutes of good work with rest in between. And what that rest does is help your attention span. As 25 minutes approach, you're gonna get restless, be like, ooh, what's on my phone? But taking that break and putting it there allows you to refresh and then come back stronger again. Personally, I did 40 minutes and 10-minute breaks, and again, just switch it up according to how good you are at focusing on tasks at hand. Again, please remember to be honest and switch off that damn Wi-Fi. Too many people will be working, you're there within 15 minutes, you're ping, ping. Switch off the Wi-Fi, put your phone away. If you're putting a timer, I'd say put it like, I have a couch right there. That's where I put my phone if I'm studying, just so it won't distract me, because I know it will. So that's it for this week, guys. I hope this video was able to enlighten some of you. I hope you're able to learn something new. If you know any other revision techniques that you think will be helpful to some people, please feel free to share them with me, and we'll share them with other people so we can all succeed here. And also, this was the first of the how-to videos. I'd love feedback on how they went and what you'd like to see different, and actually what other how-to videos you'd like to see. I'm planning on making a few more in terms of academic related as well as socially related and in other places, but if you have any suggestions, I'm open to them all. Remember to like, comment, share with someone who you think might need to polish up on their revision skills or may need to see this video. Anyway, it's been cake time. Out.